Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name's Amanda and I'm a second year vet student. And today's video is something that I never really expected to talk about on my YouTube channel, but I've always wanted to be very open and honest with you guys about my journey getting accepted into vet school and then going through the program. And at the end of the day, what I'm about to tell you guys was part of that experience of getting accepted. So today's video is going to be all about when I got rejected from my dream vet school. So as I'm sure you guys can gather from the other videos on my channel, the one where I talked about getting accepted into my dream vet school, I was accepted into OVC in 2019. However, the year prior to that, so in 2018, I also applied to vet school and I was not even invited for an interview. So how it works at OVC is they rank their applicants based on marks, and the top 200 marks get invited for an interview. So I did not have the marks that I needed to get invited for an interview, which is the first step in the application process. Once you go through the interview, they reweight your marks and your interview score, and then the top 100 applicants based on that score get accepted. So not even getting to the first step of the application process was quite disappointing for me. I actually got the rejection email while I was at the doctor's office, and because I am the least patient person in the world, I opened the email, half expecting it to be good, half expecting it to be bad news, in the doctor's office. And surprise, surprise, it was not good news. It was my rejection saying that they didn't invite me for an interview. And then I had to sit through an entire doctor's appointment and try not to cry. I was pretty proud of myself. I held it together that entire appointment, but literally the second that I got into my car, I just started crying. The first person I called was my mom, and I told her that I didn't get accepted into vet school. Saying it out loud was, I think, honestly, one of the hardest things to say. I'm just speaking from my personal experiences, but vet school was something that I had been set on since I was a little kid, and you always think in your head that things are just going to work out. Even though my marks were lower, for some reason I was like, you know what, it'll be fine. I'm just gonna get accepted and all will be good. But that is not reality. That is not life, and it did not work out that way. So I went home, and I will be completely honest with you guys, I think I cried that entire day. Now, last year when I got accepted into vet school, I had no problem whatsoever sharing on my social media or telling my friends and family that I got accepted. But the year prior to that, I had a hard time even telling my family and friends that I didn't get accepted. I think part of that reason was because I felt like I had let people down who believed in me. For me, that was one of the hardest things, was telling other people, because I did have a really great support system and I had a lot of people around me who believed in me and felt like I was going to get in. So having to tell them that that wasn't going to be the case was one of the hardest parts about this whole process. So now that you guys know my story, the reason why I wanted to talk about this experience in my life was because I feel like I learned a ton from it, and honestly, at the time, I felt like I was the only person going through it. I felt like I was the only person who got rejected from vet school, which is obviously not the case. So I wanted to be open and honest about it. I wanted to let you guys know that I have been there, because once I did get accepted into vet school, talking to classmates and talking to my friends, a lot of people applied multiple times. Having multiple applications to vet school is more common than you would think. And I feel like the more we talk about it and the more we make multiple applications a normal thing, the easier it will be for people to deal with that rejection. So that's what I kind of wanted to make this video about, was to let you guys know that if you are going through something similar, whether it be vet school, med school, any professional school, whatever the case may be, rejection is a part of life. And as long as you have the tools to be able to deal with that rejection and become resilient, you will only become more successful in the future. But yeah, at the time, I felt really alone, so I thought I would make this video to let you guys know that you are not alone going through it. It is more common than you would ever think. Whether you want to talk about it right now or think about it right now, know that there are people out there who have been through the exact same experience as you and are more than willing to talk or help going forward. So there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about in this video. One of them was dealing with the rejection. The second one was how to move forward, and then kind of my overall thoughts on the whole application process and the rejection aspect of it. So speaking from experience, I had a really hard time processing my emotions once I got that rejection letter. I feel like I felt every emotion in the book. I was embarrassed, I was frustrated, I was scared to tell people, I was mad at myself, I was disappointed in myself, and honestly the list goes on and on and on. I think the most important thing that I learned from that was that it is okay to feel all of those emotions. This is something that you have been looking forward to for years and years, and no one's lying about it. Like, it sucks. Getting rejected in any aspect of life sucks. So if you are also going through something similar, don't be afraid to feel those emotions. Don't be afraid to take a day and just cry or eat ice cream or do whatever you need to do. Another thing that I did after I got rejected was I did not even think about anything vet related for almost a month. For me, that was my way of coping with the rejection, and being able to process those emotions in my own time was something that I feel like really helped. So if that's something you need to do as well, don't be afraid to just forget about vet school and not think about it for a while. What I will say though is that once I had cried and ate my ice cream and ignored anything vet school related, that was when I sat down and I figured out how I was going to go forward to make my next year's application successful. If you're not ready to do that, don't feel like you need to have a set timeline where you start moving forward and planning for the future. If you need a week, if you need a month, so be it. Everyone is going to process things differently, but what I will tell you is that even though you were rejected, even though you didn't get the news you were hoping for, if this is something you really want, and for me, vet school was something that I had wanted since I was a little kid. It was something that I dreamed about. If it is something that you are that passionate about, do not let the rejection keep you from trying again. I promise you, it is so worth it to just keep going and pushing through. Had I not applied the year after I got rejected, I wouldn't be sitting here today going into the second year of my program. So do not let the rejection keep you from moving forward. If this is something you really want, stick with it and don't give up. I promise you, it is so worth it in the end. So now let's talk about moving forward and trying to figure out how to set yourself up for success the next time around. When I was finally over eating the ice cream and crying and feeling sorry for myself, I sat down and I figured out a plan for what I needed to do in my next year of school to set myself up better for my application in second year. This is just kind of my experience with it, so if your experience is different, obviously disregard what I'm going to say. I knew that because I didn't get invited for an interview, my marks were one of the main issues on my application the first time around. So that's when I sat down and I figured out how I needed to study in my final year of undergrad so that I could bump my marks up so that I would get invited for an interview on my second application. Once I sat down and figured out what ways of studying really didn't work for me that were not beneficial, I started to make a plan of courses I wanted to take, and I actually set goals for myself of what I wanted my average to be in my final year of my undergrad. Having that goal of a certain mark really pushed me to work hard throughout the year, and honestly, it was just a constant reminder of what I needed to do to get accepted into my dream program, knowing what it was like to get rejected from my dream program. And that's another thing that I wanted to touch on, was that getting rejected from vet school, my first application, was honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me in terms of my work ethic and my drive for wanting to be a vet. Because I was rejected my first time around, my final year of school, I worked harder than I ever had in undergrad. I got better marks than I ever had in undergrad, and honestly, I think getting rejected kind of lit a fire under my butt and made me realize that yes, being a vet is something I really want to do, but it also means that I'm gonna have to work harder than I ever have so that I can make that dream a reality. So my biggest tips for you would be to sit down and figure out what went wrong on your first application and what you can do to make your next application even stronger. Okay, so now that we've talked about dealing with your emotions and then moving forward from those emotions and creating a plan for yourself that is going to help your second application, I just wanted to kind of share with you guys some words of wisdom, if you would call it that, from someone who has been rejected from vet school, but then ultimately ended up getting accepted to their dream program. Honestly, getting rejected absolutely sucked. My dream of becoming a vet felt like it was farther away than ever, but Looking back now, sitting here talking to you, knowing that I am now in the program of my dreams, getting rejected was the best thing that ever happened to me. I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. As cheesy as it sounds, I genuinely do believe that. And looking back now, had I been accepted the first time I applied, I felt like I didn't really have a good understanding of how I needed to study in school to be successful. And I feel like I would have spent my first year of vet school trying to figure out those things, whereas because I got rejected and because I had another year of my undergrad to go through, I could figure out those things in my undergrad so that when I did get accepted to vet school, I felt a lot more prepared. Also, if I got accepted on my first application and not on my second application, I would have been a part of a completely different class. My classmates now are some of the most supportive people I have ever met, and I would never have been placed in the practice group that I was in. Honestly, my practice group ended up becoming some of my best friends. So to think that had I got accepted my first application, I would be in a completely different spot in my life than I am in right now. And honestly, I'm so happy with where I am in my life now and the people that I'm surrounded with. I'm so thankful that I didn't get accepted my first time because my life would be completely different. My biggest piece of advice and the biggest thing that I learned from getting rejected from my program is that if being a vet is something you truly want and the veterinary profession is something that you are passionate about, don't give up. Vet school in general is not a smooth road, and for the majority of people, the journey through the application process before vet school even starts is not smooth sailing at all. There are going to be a lot of ups and downs, and even though getting rejected from vet school is obviously not the most fun thing in the world, take it as a learning experience. I know that's hard to say, and at the time, if I told myself that, I would have wanted to punch myself in the face. But now that I have gone through it, and now that I can look back, use that rejection as a learning experience, use it to grow, and honestly, I feel like because I went through that, I am just a stronger vet, and I feel like I've been able to do things in vet school that I would have never been able to do had I got accepted my first time around. So now that you guys know that I was rejected from my dream vet school, I wanted to say that if you are going through something similar, do not hesitate to reach out. Whether it be to me or whether it be to family and friends, there are going to be people who are going to want to lift you up, and that is so important when you're going through this, is knowing that you do have people around you who will want to support you no matter what. As always, don't hesitate to reach out. If you want to talk to me about steps you want to take for your future application, feel free. If you just want to rant to me about the process, then I am all ears. I was in that exact same position and I know what it's like. So with that being said, keep your head up. I promise you this profession is so worth it in the end. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to follow along through all of my ups and downs as I go through the vet school program, please feel free to like this video and subscribe. It means the world that I have people around me supporting me and watching me go through this crazy process. And if you are going through something similar, do not give up. You got this. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.